Hello and welcome, dear friends. As we continue this 20th year of the Turner Winter Series, I'm Maureen Rovegno, and I am delighted to offer this welcome on behalf of Greg Peterson, the founder and perennial host of the Turner Winter Series these many years. We welcome with delight those of you who are with us this evening in the comfort of the Kappa Theater here in the Robert H. Jackson Center, as well as those who are enjoying this program virtually. And if you are with us on Zoom, please remember to mute yourself and to turn off your video camera right now. It is my great pleasure to begin our evening with a brief introduction of our guest, Brian Rovegno, after which I will turn the conversation over to Jamestown's and the Jackson Center's own Greg Peterson. Brian Rovegno is a valued business advisor with the New York State Small Business Development Center, SBDC, team at JCC, having joined their ranks in the fall of 2019. Originally from Erie, PA, Brian is a graduate of St. Bonaventure University, where he majored in journalism and helped to create the theater program. He earned a master's degree at the University of Nottingham in the UK and then relocated to our area with his family after 18 years in Colorado. During that time, he had served as a program manager for Stars Entertainment, where he spearheaded the growth and longevity of the Westerns channel, among other national networks. His efforts contributed to building that channel into one of the most watched pay TV services in the US. Brian had begun his love of technology when he was in elementary school, creating his own bulletin board. In his early adult years, he worked in every possible capacity at the Chautauqua Institution while he moonlighted as a DJ, and then later as director of the Chautauqua Rhodes Scholar Program. Brian is a lover of technology, music, film, and the arts in all forms. Professionally, Brian is passionate about working with clients and helping local businesses to thrive, bringing extensive experience in marketing and social media development to the role. He is currently serving as the board president of the Chautauqua Leadership Network. Further demonstrating his commitment to professional development and innovation, he recently earned AI certification through the SBDC. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with his family, of which I am a proud member, and exploring the many recreational, cultural, and outdoor blessings that Chautauqua County offers. And so, as you can see already, Greg has once again invited an interesting and fun conversation partner for our series. So please join me now in welcoming Brian Rovegno in conversation with Greg Peterson.
Thank you, Maureen. So my son, Brent, called me tonight. He said, "Dad, what's the program?" I said, "We're going to discuss AI." And his response was, "What? On whether to put it on steak or fish?" I go, no, it's not A1, it's AI, Brent. Maybe you misunderstood. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're supposed to do that in an interesting and fun way. Now, here's the good news, Brian. You're going to entertain me like no other because I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I haven't started talking about anything yet.
Well, it's just the kind of stuff you pick up, and the most recent Post-Journal piece there was under silver. I mean, it's the kind you're too young to actually pick up and read something of that nature, but here is the headline. "What the heck is AI?" says Kathy Joy. And they went on to cite a survey. What are people saying about AI? According to a survey I found, people are most likely to say they are concerned, 32%, curious, 30%, and hopeful, 27%. And once you get to a certain age, it's just something you read the headlines and you don't understand it. Can you give us a little definition?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Mom, for the wonderful introduction. As they do in the Oscars, thank you, before I get to answer, thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor to be part of this series. I'm grateful. So, to answer your question, what the heck is AI? What's the definition? I mean, So it's been around. It's been around for a lot longer than you may think. You've heard of, I'm sure, Alan Turing and the Turing test. For those of you who don't know, the Turing test is Alan Turing posited that as soon as we can't determine whether the object or being that we're speaking to, until we can't determine that it is AI, that is the Turing test. And so far, knock on wood, they say nothing has passed the Turing test yet, so we all still kind of know what is AI. So I would say AI recently has been your Alexa, it has been your Netflix recommendations. AI has been around for a while. It kind of made the biggest splash in most recent history with, I don't know if you remember, in 2011, Watson, when IBM had their AI module that went on to Jeopardy and won. That was the first time that the AI that everyone is talking about now, which is generative AI, and what that means, AI being artificial intelligence. I guess I should start from the beginning. But generative AI is what everyone's talking right now and talking about right now. That's what everyone is referring to when they're talking about AI currently. And what generative AI is, you've heard of ChatGPT and you've heard of Google's Gemini. Generative AI now has the ability to create. That's essentially, in a nutshell, what is happening. It's not so much that we're just conversing with it or we're interacting with it in some way. We can actually engage it to create something from nothing. That's the new generative AI that everyone's talking about.
So you stole my stuff here.
Oh,
This is the March 1st, 2nd Wall Street Journal dealing with AI. And even as interest has grown, AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, has defied a concise, universally accepted definition. In 1950, you right on schedule, Alan Turing proposed a Turing test to assess machine intelligence. Rather than trying to determine whether machines truly think, a question he deemed intractable, Turing focused on behavior. Could a machine's actions be indistinguishable from those of a human?
Mm-hmm.
And your answer is?
no. Not yet, at least.
Yeah.
Not yet, but definitely no. There's still, the human element is still, in visual terms in film, it's referred to as the uncanny valley when they try to create a computer-generated person. There's just this, for lack of a better term, lifelessness, a deadness that is, as a human, we can sense. I think it's as simple as that. It's getting harder to determine those things, especially with the current crop of chatting AI. It's getting a lot more difficult to determine what is real. So, quote unquote, what is real and what is computer generated.
So we watch things like on YouTube and TikTok and things like that, and you see faces and you see their mouth moving and the words are not theirs but it's their voices. I mean, everything's seemingly so real. Is that AI? Is that what that really is?
I mean, essentially, yes, that's part of what AI does. I mean, AI is a blanket term. Artificial intelligence encompasses so much. And part of it is being able to replicate, that's new technology, replicating voices, replicating imagery, taking images wholesale and putting them in other images. I mean, that's all part of what AI does, yes. So, AI encompasses so much these days, but really what people are talking about is these chatting devices, these generative AI. That's generally the hot topic these days of what people are most interested in talking about. I mean, AI, as I said before, has been a part of our lives in smaller ways. Even, it's going to be at the drive-through when you go there now. It's already starting. When you go there, the first voice you hear, I don't know how many people go through the drive-through anymore, but the first voice you hear is generally a recorded voice giving you something and sensing what you're response will be before they turn the microphone on, the person, the real human. So, I mean, it's everywhere.
So we're soon to see your dad do some sort of ad that he hates the Yankees, and his voice will come out and that everything. Is that what's going to?
AI can never even make that happen. There's no way.
I look forward to that day, actually. So how does one like you, talk a little bit about your career path? You know, your mom gave some tidbits, you know, your bulletin board and things like that, but have you always been sort of intellectually excited?
I guess so. I especially, it's, you know, it's hard to say yes, but yes, I guess that's true. What she mentioned, the bulletin board, my first thought was, does anyone actually know what that means? And give me a minute, I'll explain that back in the day before the internet, but those were the days of the dial-up modems, and you've all heard the noises of the putting your phone on, and that's how the computer speaks to other computers. So before there was, America Online, you remember those initial networks, CompuServe being the first major one, people would set up their own they were called bulletin board systems, or BBSs, where you would set it up on your computer and people could dial into your computer one at a time. This wasn't a network where people were talking to each other. It was more you come in, if there were sometimes games to be downloaded, sometimes you have chat boards and things like that. But I set one of those up on my Commodore 64 when I was in 8th grade and used to take over the phone line every night from 10 p.m. till 7 a.m., make sure my sisters turned off their ringers so people could call into my computer and leave messages and do things like that. So in that respect, that's what my mother was trying to show, that I've been tinkering with computers since a very young age. So this AI certification that I've recently been able to get has just kind of an extension of that. So, but my history is circuitous at best. So I've been I was in the television industry for 16 years, and somehow found my way to the Small Business Development Center and couldn't be happier.
Well, that's a quick tour, but let's pause. So you went to St. Bonaventure. Why St. Bonaventure? Your mom didn't go there. Your dad didn't go there.
No, St. Bonaventure kind of found me, actually. I have always been one that likes to weigh all the options, sometimes to a fault, and sometimes to I don't get to that point. Anyway, I had won a major award in high school. I won Best Actor in the state of Pennsylvania at the high school level, and they wrote about it in the Erie Catholic Diocese newspaper, the Lakeshore Visitor, of which the man who was in charge of recruitment at St. Bonaventure, his name's Mike Mulvihill. He was from Bradford and thus in the Catholic Diocese of Erie. He saw that newspaper article, and the article in there about me winning this award. St. Bonaventure was in the process of building an arts center and not having much of an arts program. So I would say that when I met Mike Mulvihill at a college fair, he very actively recruited me. Mm-hmm. So I think he was given the mandate to go find some arty students to come fill their art coffers at St. Bonaventure with a new arts center. So they were very sweet to me and kind of gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse.
So you're part of your bio, you created the theater program. How does one create a theater program? Do you sit down with a group, hold hands, and decide you're going to do a production and get a budget?
I mean, for all intents and purposes, yes, that's exactly what happened. My freshman year, there was a theater troupe, a pretty active one, a pretty passionate theater troupe on campus at St. Bonaventure, but it was just a club, a hobby, and of course nothing wrong with that, but they didn't do musicals. And there was a group of us that St. Bonaventure actively went out and recruited a lot of us. My freshman year, there were a group of us that really had been used to doing, I was very active at the Erie Playhouse, and I was very used to doing, top-notch theater. So I got to St. Bonaventure and kind of wanted to continue that, and met a like-minded group of people that felt the same way. And we just decided we were going to do it ourselves. A senior at the time, a friend of mine named Tucker, he decided that he was going to go to the student activities board, the people that bring in the concerts and bring in the activities for the students, and got them to pay for us doing a production of the Fantastics.
Okay.
And incidentally, Michael Hill, who is president of Chautauqua Institution currently, was in that production as well, part of that troupe. So that's just an aside, but that is how one creates a theater program, is just doing a lot of theater, finding other like-minded people, and then realizing that they're making St. Bonaventure see that there is an interest enough for them to start recruiting a theatrical minor, and then onto, I'm not sure if they went full major, but I know they had a theater minor for a while, so.
But you were a major in journalism.
Right.
So hence writing, and that's, St. Bonaventure is well-known, incredibly well-known for that. Was Lee Capolo one of your teachers?
No.
No?
Not at the time. Okay. Mary Hamilton was probably my biggest influence in terms of teaching there. She was wonderful.
Was Mike much of an actor?
Yes, actually. Yes. And I've got the videotapes to prove it. Just want to remind him of that.
Okay. We have the YouTube platform, in case you're curious. If you want to highlight that, this would be the point you drop it in. You drop it into the video.
No, but in all seriousness, he was excellent and part of the troupe that we did many productions together.
Well, let's just, you were somewhat instrumental in perhaps advancing his name as president of Chautauqua. How did that work? Tell that story.
Well, I don't know about that. What I can take full credit for is that I brought him to Chautauqua the first time, and that was actually during that time we were doing the Fantastics. Luckily, Chautauqua was close to St. Bonaventure, and it was a great respite for the cast for the weekend. Mm-hmm. So many of them had not been to Chautauqua before, and of course, being a huge fan of Chautauqua, I wanted to share it. So I can take full credit for having brought him to the grounds of Chautauqua the first time.
And obviously, it was a meaningful experience, and the rest is history.
Continues to be.
Oh, fantastic. So but that only is the beginning of your journey, mm-hmm. And then you went to England, Nottingham.
Well, I by way of Colorado. I started in Colorado.
Okay.
And after
which is right next to Erie and right next to
sure, of course. I went out to Colorado as one does. I followed the band, played in the band, and the band was in Colorado, so I went out to play with the band.
Whoa! Stop! What band? What are you talking about? I mean, that's usually just a term. Was there an actual band?
There was an actual band. We some friends of mine. We started playing music in Chautauqua in the summer of '98. They all decided to go out and decide to quote make it as a band in Colorado, and I decided to give it a shot and follow them out there. And it ended up being the best thing for me because within 3 months of my arrival, I got hired at Starz, which was really right in my wheelhouse in terms of wanting to be involved in film and or television industry, and got the best of both worlds.
So you, Starz Entertainment, talk a little bit about that, because you became program manager, mm-hmm. And when that started up, it was kind of like, oh, another one of these entertainment operations?
Well, Starz, you got to remember, this was 25 years ago, at the beginning of the peak TV, when it was still, streaming, there was no streaming at that time, so mm-hmm. Pay TV was still kind of the king of the hill in terms of, making money, HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, those guys were on top of your cable bill, so they were making the most money. So working at Starz, being able to work in the film industry and connected to the television industry, Starz being, pretty much the middleman between television and the film studios. So for me, that was ideal.
So what does program manager really mean?
So I basically was in charge of all aspects of that channel. So most of the time I spent at Stars, I spent on the Westerns channel, and that meant I was looked at it from a 360-degree point of view. So I worked with the acquisitions team that went out and got all the shows and made sure we were paying for them and how long, and worked with them. And I also worked with the team that was doing, pay TV. We don't get advertisements from outside. It's all self-advertisements since everything is paid for. So I worked with the interstitial commercial teams to create promotable packaging. I programmed the channel, so every film that you saw was on there because I put it there, like a DJ for television. And then as time progressed, worked very closely with the social media team, was there from the beginning. I was there the day, remember the day when someone said, hey, this Facebook thing, can we start using this for the channels as well? Yes, we can, and did. So it was, the channel was the hub, and I got to kind of be overseeing all of the parts that the channel went out into the world. I was the stop.
So the term was the Westerns channel. I mean, my image is Roy Rogers and Tom Mix and
You got
John
it.
Wayne and all of that stuff. Am I correct?
Oh, yes, very much so.
So it was that type of entertainment. It wasn't, let's go to the Grand Canyon and documentaries about the West.
No, it was. And every day, all day, from noon until 8 p.m., we showed all the classic Westerns, the television shows, The Big Valley, The Rifleman, Rawhide.
Tell me you did Ponderosa.
Yes, Ponderosa
I
was
remember.
for a time as well, yep. But the writing was on the wall the day that we got Rawhide back, Rawhide with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
We got Rawhide back and was immediately told by the distributor, we had a license for 4 or 5 years, and the distributor had a callback feature that if they could get a better deal, we got a great deal, but we got the great deal because they had a clause that said if we get a better deal, we can pull it back, and that had never happened. And Rawhide, the day that we put it on, they pulled it back we had 3 months left on it. And that was just the day that I knew that the media landscape had exploded. It was right around when it went from analog television to digital over-the-air television. And then all of a sudden, over-the-air television, you had 80 channels and all the programming in the world, and they realized that there's a whole generation of people that will watch Westerns all day, every day. So they became very expensive and very popular very quickly.
Did you have favorites? Did you like the spaghetti Westerns? Were you a kind of good, the bad, and the ugly type person?
Yep, I am. You hit the nail on the head. I was the one who likes the later Westerns, the more arty filmic Westerns, the spaghetti Westerns, the Italian ones. I spent a lot of time with Roy Rogers, and let me tell you, you can have too much time with Roy Rogers.
The Roy Rogers?
Not personally, just watching.
I was gonna
He's
say.
got so many movies.
Let's see, you were watching, hanging with Trigger.
No.
Okay. Did you meet any of those as part of your publicity of the Westerns channel? Did you try to grab some of those guys to actually publicize the Westerns channel?
I mean, most of them, by the time I got to the channel, most of the stars were kind of gone.
Yeah.
But Dennis Weaver was our host, so I got to spend some time with Dennis Weaver.
So was that the big, what was the big thing, the 9 o'clock Westerns channel? It was Dennis Weaver, it's like, all right, today we're gonna watch the following, the Turner Classic type thing?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Did that for many, many years. We had a couple of hosts on our channels. I got to spend some time with Ally McGraw. She hosted the Love Stories channel.
Oh.
Yes, exactly.
Be still.
Yes.
I'm dating myself.
Hey, I know who Ally McGraw is.
So, 18 years, I mean, you learn a lot. What's this?
Well, it was 16 years over an 18-year period because right in the center of that, I spent 2 years in England getting my master's degree.
Okay, well, let's stop. And you went to Nottingham, I mean, and did you see the forest, Sheriff?
I did. Yeah, it's disappointing. The major oak is dead.
Oh, no.
And it's being held up by poles.
Oh, no. Say it ain't so.
And it's funny, actually, while I was there, the town and the county of York, which is just north of Nottingham, decided some architect, or not architect, I'm sorry, archaeologist, found something that made him determine that the sheriff of Nottingham was actually, might have been the sheriff of York Parish. So essentially, York was trying to steal the one thing Nottingham had, which was the Robin Hood legend, and it was mayhem. People of Nottingham went crazy. But it didn't happen,
Yeah.
obviously. But that was a threat while I was there.
So you didn't see any Maid Marians as you were looking?
Nope, but the main drag going through town is Maid Marian Way.
Is that right?
Yep.
Another one television program, lots of, that we, growing up with that. Friar Tuck, holy cow. So there's your 2 years in Nottingham. Did you, soccer a big part of that world when you were there?
Forest, yes.
Yeah.
I only got to see the forest once, but
Yeah.
live once, but I went.
Did you buy a scarf? Did you come back from that?
No, I should have, but I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as a Christmas present, maybe mom and dad could pull that out.
There you go.
Yeah, just
Someday.
a thought, yeah. So then you come back and continue on. Why did you seek out your master? Did you feel like you needed that for your next ultimate step?
It was really, I have to admit, it wasn't really a means to an end. I had spent some time in the UK earlier, and I wanted to go back. And it turned out that the University of Nottingham was, I found out, was well-known and excellent in the cinema studies area. And so I knew that's when I wanted to get my master's degree, that I wanted to get in cinema studies in some way. Turns out that the English do master's degrees in a year. They kind of double things up. Thus, it's less expensive, so it all just made sense.
So then you come back, Western Channel. Did you just pick up on your programming management job?
Yep, I came back to Stars, yep, this time with my wife. We moved back to Colorado. Soon, she became my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time, but then we moved to Colorado, and yeah, spent another 14 years there.
How'd you meet her?
Through Chautauqua. She is a Chautauquan as well, and I am very good friends with her older brother.
Ah,
So I did the thing that you're not supposed to do. I dated my buddy's little sister.
you did
But it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, yeah. No regrets.
None.
Yeah, she's watching. She's in the audience, folks, in case you're curious. She's.
I'm kind of gesturing to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So then, at what point did you decide to move from the Western Channel and in this programming, this TV world that you had? Did you see the landscape changing such that this was going to be a little more difficult, a little more?
Absolutely. It was a series of events that was happening. Stars had been sold to Lionsgate Cinema and then started getting kind of piecemealed off. The writing was kind of on the wall. And right at that time, an opportunity presented itself for Lee, my wife, back here. And that's when we decided that it's time to go back to the greatest place on earth.
And Lee's opportunity was what?
She is the current executive director of the Audubon Community Nature Center here in Jamestown.
Which for those who are watching this, we should make every effort to bring yourself and most importantly, your kids and grandkids there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, but that's her. She placed herself very well.
She did.
And then now you're trying to figure out what's next for Brian Rovegno.
And I came back to Chautauqua when we came back and spent a little over a year with their group programs department, which was great. And that's the Rhodes Scholar program that I was working with at Chautauqua. And then the SBDC opportunity presented itself, and I had to try something new.
That is the New York State Small Business Development Center located at Jamestown Community College.
Correct.
Who was the head of it at the time?
When I started, the head was and is Courtney Curatolo.
Okay.
And Courtney is, she's great. She has made the SBDC. She has been the Energizer Bunny that has been making us, shouting from the rooftops that we are here to help. So it's been, she is responsible for bringing me into the fold. She hired me.
So if one had to define what that really is, what's your mission?
Our mission is very, very simple. We offer free, confidential advice and assistance to anyone who wants to start a business, who has a business and wants to grow their business. You know, being an entrepreneur is a full-time job. It's a hard thing, and people need someone to talk to about it. And we offer assistance, we offer advice, we have a research network, a very extensive research network in Albany, many librarians who can help with market research. We can help, I mean, the list goes on. I wish Courtney were right here. She has this great spiel that I should know better.
As part of the process, you are one of 3 people in New York State who've earned this AI certification, not to be confused with A1. I'm sorry for the bad beginning. What does that really mean?
That's a good question. So the certification itself, I was fortunate enough to be one of the ones in New York who was invited to the national SBD conference. The SBDC every state has a network of SBDCs, so the national conference this year was focused on AI, and Google came to the ASBDC with $10 million to train the trainers, essentially. So an initial cohort was chosen from every state to be trained and certified courtesy of Google, basically. So what that means, because I mean, truly, AI is changing so rapidly. My certification was in September, and I can tell you that even since then, it has changed 10 times over. But what they did focus on in the certification that I think is really the most important part that's not going to change, and it's something that our experience with technology is really going to kind of make this abundantly clear, and that is this concept of the human in the loop of AI. And really what that means is this idea of AI remaining ethical and trying to avoid the biases that can happen. So AI is trained by us. It will always reflect humans. It will reflect the users. So to people who you often hear people saying they're nervous about AI, their experience of AI is, you know, the Terminator films and how Skynet is going to become real and the singularity is going to happen and it's going to destroy us all. But that's science fiction. I don't think that's going to happen because of this concept of the human in the loop. And all that means is that there has to be a human in order for AI to work. It learns from humans. So it is our responsibility to make sure that it is learning correctly, it is learning the right way, it is not being taught, for lack of a better term, you know, taught to be evil. When you think back to Facebook, and you know, Facebook started in earnest for most people in 2008. That's after it had been the Facebook in college campuses. And for those of us who were there for the beginning of Facebook, or when it became, you know, it hit that tipping point and people started using it, we remember how the possibilities with Facebook were endless, that this is going to be such a tool that can connect us all and it's going to, you know, bridge that chasm between us, and we're all going to be able to, and it really had that potential. Now, did it do that? Yeah, to a point it did, but we also can look at what Facebook has done to our country, to our world, to, you know, or to our democracy, and we never would have seen that coming. We can see it now. So we have to use that knowledge and apply that to AI and realize that we are at that point at where Facebook was in 2008 and 2009. That's where we are with AI. We have the opportunity to really set it on a good course, as long as we're all in it together, and we all know that. So that is kind of what the certification was really pushing forward, among other things that we can talk about. But the idea of there being a human always checking, making sure that the information that AI is giving you is correct, is without bias, without prejudice of any kind, and we tell them that. A lot of these AI chatbots give us that opportunity with a thumbs up, or you can make a comment, and we should be doing those things, especially when we see something that reflects a bias that we don't want to keep perpetuating.
President Biden, as he was exiting during the kind of lame duck time period, issued some orders, artificial intelligence orders, and he directed agencies to develop standards and metrics to test AI systems. The order included provisions about limiting bias and discrimination when deploying the technology, and sections that candidate and then now President Trump has bashed on the campaign trail, promising to repeal the order. Where do things stand? Do you get a sense where that is?
Yes. So to your point, yes, the Biden White House did put out what they call the blueprint for AI. It has a much longer term, but that's essentially what it is. And it's this very extensive document, pretty much, in very large terms, elucidating what I was just talking about, and that we really need to be vigilant in making sure that AI remains, without bias, all those things that I was just saying. And they did put that out as a blueprint, but nothing has been adopted officially. Nothing has been voted on. There's really, it's still kind of the Wild West. And to your point, we don't know what's going to happen yet, but it seems that the Trump White House and this new administration is probably going to do away with a lot of that blueprint, and they're going to keep it fairly unregulated for now. So,
where does this all tie in with cybersecurity? I'm again reading a paragraph here that says the order of President Biden contains a grab bag of cybersecurity initiatives, including new powers to sanction criminal ransomware groups and efforts to expand the use of AI in cyber defense. Is that part of your world?
just in reading about and learning about AI, it is a little bit. I would say that AI and cybersecurity are in cahoots in the exact same way that these days our currency is our data, is our information. That is the business model of most of the sites, the websites, the internet sites that we interact with. They're just looking for us to remain on the site and for us to give over as much data as possible, because that is the currency. And AI is kind of the same way right now. When you chat with these bots, with Gemini, with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Perplexity, with all of these chat bots, it is learning from you. It is learning how you speak to it. It is learning what you speak about. It is learning how to respond to you and how you respond to it. It is constantly learning. So the tie of cybersecurity and AI is like with your information. You have to be vigilant in protecting it. So that means when you're speaking with AI or you're chatting with an AI bot and you're giving it information, you're doing whatever. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with it. It's endless, the possibilities. But you have to be vigilant about making sure not to give it any information, because we don't know where that information is going right now. It is going into these large language models that power AI. And we don't know yet how it's being used. But there was an incident recently, probably 6 months, 8 months ago, where someone said to AI something about the word strawberry, and ChatGPT came back and said something to the effect of that there are only 2 R's in strawberry, when if you do the counting, there are 3. So someone noticed that, and whoever wrote this article noticed that and said to ChatGPT, "I'm sorry, you're mistaken. There are 3 R's in strawberry." And ChatGPT responded, "Thank you so much for pointing that out. You're right. There are 2 R's in strawberry. So, it's still, sometimes it learns things to a point that it can't unlearn, not easily. So, it is, you have to be vigilant about what you put into AI. Speaking in the business world, I'm using it all the time, and one way that is very useful is that it can take spreadsheets of complicated spreadsheets, and you can load it right into AI and say, just explain this to me in layman's terms. What is this spreadsheet? What story is it telling me? And it will do its best to give you that story. But if that financial information has your name attached to it or your social security number, God forbid, you may be in trouble. You don't know where that's going. You don't know if this AI language model is going to grab that and it's going to be its 2R strawberry, and it's going to talk about it somewhere that we don't know about. So for people who use AI on the regular, using these chatbots, you really have to be careful about what kind of information you are feeding it, because you just don't know what it's going to do with it. Just as I would say, when you're getting on Google Chrome and you're going on the internet, be careful where you go. Don't click on everything that you see. You may go down a dark path.
You said you're active on it. What is the venue or the forum or the platform you're active on? Again, I'm thinking there's YouTube, there's certain platforms there are which are well-defined.
Mm-hmm.
Does AI have well-defined platforms that you're on?
Yes. So the one I use at work at the SBDC is ChatGPT. You've heard of that. That's kind of the Xerox, the Kleenex. It's the name brand. It is becoming just like, you say you Google something for searching for something on the internet. You can say now, I'm going to chat. And so it's kind of taken that zeitgeist terminology, whatever you want to say. So ChatGPT is kind of the big name. Followed closely, some may argue, the bigger name is Google's Gemini. They call chatbots chat windows. It is just a place for you to speak as you would a human, speak to a artificial intelligence entity. Right. And it will respond to you. So ChatGPT is the big one. Gemini, there's one called Claude. I don't know if you've heard of Claude AI. Claude is run by a company called Anthropic. Anthropic is heavily invested in by Amazon, so that is where they are getting into the AI field. ChatGPT is run by a company called OpenAI. OpenAI is very much in cahoots with Microsoft. Mm-hmm. So Microsoft has their hands in the mix. Of course, Google has Gemini. And then there's Perplexity. Perplexity is one that I've been talking about quite a bit, because Perplexity, what makes it special is that it really leans hard into citations and making sure you know exactly where it's getting its information from, which has been really interesting. Then Perplexity decided to get to work with DeepSeek. I don't know if you've heard about DeepSeek. This is the newest one that just came out. DeepSeek is a Chinese AI, and of course made a lot of people nervous. However, DeepSeek threw everyone a curveball by making their large language models open source. And open source means that an open source software is the most democratic software. It's the software that is non-proprietary. It's the one that people can get into and inspect and look at.
Like the internet is open source, right?
Well, some of it.
Well, yeah, but it started out that way.
Yes, it started out that way. That's right. But these days, if you see something being open source, that means there is an army of people that are digging through it to make sure everything's legit and kosher. So it's this kind of strange irony that the Chinese language model that everyone was all nervous about, they decided to make open source, and they democratized it. which I thought was a slight bit of irony. But Perplexity now uses that language model as its back end, so now Perplexity has Chinese technology.
Where does this have practical application to the small mom and pop shop? Let's use a coffee company.
Okay.
A coffee company who's on, well, we made nameless, but it's on 3rd Street, has really good coffee.
Excellent coffee. So let's use this fictional coffee company on 3rd Street as an example. How could they use it? Right now, for a business like that, ChatGPT, Gemini, these chat modules, right now they're best used as kind of the administrative assistant you don't really have to pay for. So in a situation like that, maybe checking in on inventory. They could load their inventory into ChatGPT and then just say, hey, how are we doing on this? Or make sure to, it can keep track of those things for you. It can help you with, as I was saying before, with financial, looking at cash flow, and looking at the numbers sometimes can be very confusing. Looking at Excel spreadsheets can sometimes make people's eyes cross. So why not put it into the, redact all the personal information and then load it up into ChatGPT and say, how are we doing? How is this looking? How is the forecast? Maybe you have some ideas of what, some ways I could cut back, maybe some ways I could, just based on, it's going to extrapolate the information from that spreadsheet. And it can create a different spreadsheet for you if you tell it to. You can say, I want this information on the x-axis, this information on the y-axis, and it'll create it for you. I mean, the possibilities really are endless.
So how does it actually, you open up the chat box and you just kind of like have to become a member of it? How does it work?
No, I mean, you go to chatgpt.com and you can just start talking to it. Now, I would recommend that you sign up for an account, because if you sign up for an account, and it's free to get an account, then it will save your conversations. So you can go back to them. If you want to, continue a conversation you had before, you can do that. So I would recommend you sign up, but you don't have to. Now, they do want to make money. They will try to push you into a subscription model, and with a subscription, a lot of these are $20 a month, and that gets you their most powerful language model, and they're coming up with all these other different, ways of it being helpful. ChatGPT just came up with ChatGPT tasks, so you can actually have it, set an alarm. It can write emails for you. It can respond to emails for you if you wanted to. It can do those things. It just depends on how much control you want to give it. So they'll charge you $20 a month. And they'll say with $20 a month comes anonymity and privacy, that your information is not going into the learning, and it won't get spit out by someone somewhere. We don't know if that's true. We have to take their word for it. I have to assume that it's true, but I'm rambling now. Did I answer your question?
Well, it comes to practical. For example, a business will come to the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, and they'll be looking for money for an idea they have. And their first reaction is, why don't you go down to the SBDC and make sure you help them have them write or assist you in a strategic plan.
Yes.
Financial planning, 5-year forecasting. Does that help you in there? Is that a tool?
Yes, to a point. For the financial forecasting, I have to say that, again, you always have to check the information that you get from AI and from these things. And I find that it's still, you would think that it would be great with math, but it's still not great with math. You do have to check. You do have to make sure that it is, 2 and 2 does actually equal 4 when it comes the information back to you. So it does have some, it's still working out some kinks. But to answer your question, what would I do if someone wanted to come by and open a business? They went to the IDA, they have a great idea. The first thing I would say, we could use AI as a springboard. I often say that AI really is a blank page buster. That the greatest thing about it is to just get you started. So oftentimes, especially when it comes to writing business plans, you probably be shocked at how many great ideas stop at the business planning stage, because it's sometimes very difficult to create something out of nothing and put it in words. That's not something everybody can do. So AI now, you can have a conversation with it. You can say to AI, this is my idea. Let's brainstorm and let's refine this idea. Okay, this is a great idea. I think maybe we can start building this into a business plan. What do you think about that? It'll start walking you through the process of building a business plan. And it's almost like a personal assistant. It does exactly what I do, really. But I've been having such fun in teaching people and seeing their reaction when, something that would have taken, hours and hours, sometimes weeks of time of refinement, and you can take that down and have it do the lion's share of the work for you, but it's still you. It's still your idea. You are still refining it, still talking to it, as if it is your administrative assistant working the ideas out with you. So that has been almost revolutionary just in the last 6 months since we got our ChatGPT subscription, at how much more success I'm seeing at a rapid rate.
So a not-for-profit wants to sit down and go on a retreat, a 2-day retreat, and pause and just to review the various missions and visions of its not-for-profit organization, and ultimately find form in a strategic plan, which then goes to foundations for funding. So where does AI fit in all that?
Well, see, again, this is where I wish that my colleague Courtney Curatola were here. She has had quite a lot of success using AI, working with it to help her write and work out these grants that she's constantly seeking and writing grants. And anyone who has written a grant knows that how it's extensive and difficult, and there is a lot of thought and work to it that can be made so much easier, for lack of a better term. It's easier, more streamlined by having a conversation about it. Especially if you can if there's an application, you can put the application in and tell AI, hey, take a look at this application and let's review this together. Give me some ideas. This is where I'm coming from. This is my organization. It can absolutely help put all this together for you. It's, I just as another example, kind of side to this, I use AI recently. I had to create a job description, and I didn't have the job description, but I had a contract that this job had once had and some other information. I could take all that, put it into AI, and say, I need this to look like a job description, and here are some things I want you to add, here's some things I want you to, within a minute, it had more than respectable first draft.
So what does it do? Do you take your phone and you take a picture of what the current job description is, and you then add narrative saying, I would like this to look like, here's where I'd like to accomplish, kind of that question mark.
Yep.
And then, boom.
That's it. It really is boom. And if you haven't tried it yet, that's what I wanted everyone to take away from this conversation. The only way you're going to learn about AI, the only way is just to get in and try it. And so the best advice I can give is very simple advice. If you don't know how to use AI, ask it. If you don't know how to ask it how to ask it.
So are you having something at the college where folks can come and say, I want a demonstration of how that might work? They're not ready for prime time, but they just would like to see what you just said. Again, a job description, simple thing where they could see it. If they do it once and they see the results, they're going to do it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. But it's the first threshold they have to get over.
Yes.
Do you have such a symposium at JCC?
Currently, I have been kind of evangelizing AI as I'm doing now, I suppose, but I've been doing presentations locally, trying to just get the word out. And really, the point of these presentations is just that. The best way to learn is not to watch somebody do it, it's just to get in and start talking to one of these things. Pick one: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity. They all have similar, some are better than others in some things. You got to get in and try it. There's no way really to fully understand AI than just to go in and give it a shot. And I'll tell you the way, the story I use is the story that the first time I went onto AI, I just decided to try something completely random. I don't know why this came to my head, but it's what came to my head. And I sat down ChatGPT and asked it to rewrite Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. He's a poet, very famous poem, you know, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. People know this poem. I wanted to see what ChatGPT would do. I said, please rewrite Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening as if the Beastie Boys wrote it. And I mean, what it came up with, that to me was the moment for when I just kind of went, wow, this is working on a different level that we haven't seen this. This was a mind blower to me. It wasn't perfect. It didn't get the rhyme scheme perfect. I actually had to work with it and say, no. Stopping by Woods, Snowy Evening is AABA, BBCB, doesn't matter. But once I did that, it understood the rhyme scheme that I gave it, even doing it that way. So the comprehending powers, the comprehensive powers of AI is staggering. But the other example I use is get onto AI and say, I want you to talk to me as if your name is Marv and you're the grumpiest guy on earth. And have fun with it. Have a conversation. And it will probably tear you up. It will insult you because you asked it to.
Well, Cindy's taking notes right now. That's my wife, Cindy, as to how perhaps that can be achieved. I think most importantly, when your son was a bat boy at the Jamestown Tarp Skunks, and
Yes.
your dad was the bench coach, and I can see this summer where, in fact, there'll be situations where, in fact, with your dad will then learn how to do the chat. He'll ask questions. We got men at first and second, and we got one out. What should we be doing at this point?
Yeah,
And then blowing in the ear of our manager, Frank Gigotta. I can see that happening.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the question I should be asking you as we get towards wrapping this up? Most fun and most interesting, everything your mother said this would be, it has been. So I want you to know that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, but what's the question I should be asking Brian Rovegno?
Oh, boy, that's a big existential question. I don't know if I can tackle that. In terms of AI, if that's what we're going toward, the question you should be asking is, how do I get on and try it?
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's it. If I can't, I want people to get on there and try it. Because I promise you, within a minute of chatting, you will start coming up with ways, oh my gosh, this thing can help me do X, Y, Z. The first time I told you about my first experience, some other ways that I'm using using these AI tools just for fun. There's one of my favorite books. I'm working with ChatGPT to have it converted into a screenplay. Why? Why not? Never done that before. It's fun. I'm having conversations. We're having dialogue scenes where it will converse with me as a character. It's crazy. That's one of the things I'm doing. Play with it. Have fun with it. Be creative with it. Get on there and try it. Because if there's one thing I can tell you, there's a lot of people out there who are saying, you know, AI is coming for my job. That's not exactly true. But if you can't use AI with your job, then in that respect, AI is coming for your job. We are all going to be using it, and it's going to be exponential how quickly that happens. compared to the adoption of other technologies. This one's going to be really fast. And I would say get on board right now. Get on ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity. Instagram has its own AI. WhatsApp and Meta, they have their own AI. Go in and play with it. Just remember, it will be what we teach it to be. So let's all try to teach it to be a useful and not evil part of society.
So if I had gone in prior to this interview today, chat box, and I had said, help me interview Brian Rovegno, who is this, would they spit out something to me to help me do what I tried to do today?
Yes, absolutely. You could say, give me 15 to 20 questions that I could ask, and it will give you 15 to 20 questions. Some will be excellent, some will not be not so much, but the best, a colleague of mine in Albany, the way he talks about AI is that it's like Thomas the Tank Engine. Are you familiar with Thomas the Tank Engine? He can speak, he has feelings, but he cannot move himself. He still needs a conductor in the train moving him. That is AI. Thomas wants to be a helpful engine. I want to be a useful engine. AI wants to be a useful engine. If you ask it a question, it will give you an answer. So make sure that you're feeding it the right information to get the best answer from it. It is Thomas. It will give you an answer. It wants to be useful. But we need good operators behind the wheel of these engines.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't try that beforehand because I would have been out of a job probably. So
Never.
ladies and gentlemen, Brian Rovegno, thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, Bill.